Today, we are breaking down Sports Illustrated's 2026 NFL mock draft. Let's jump right into this, starting out with the number one overall selection. This is a draft order based off of BetMGM Super Bowl odds as of mid-May. Of course, not that much has changed. I assume they are the same, but let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Again, if you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe because I make content like this all the time. Below my face is my board, but these are only players that I have given all 22 grades to that are posted on the show, which outside of Caleb Downs, you guys can end up finding a video for every single one of them, or you can find them in a video on the show. So feel free to go and support those videos. We're going to be testing out how much we want to continue with like the 40 player breakdown as the primary video, but that's a conversation for another day. Number one overall pick, New York Giants go Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU. If you are at number one overall, you probably are going to be going after the quarterback route. Here's my biggest issue with Garrett Nussmeier. He's 200 pounds, listed 6'2", 200. You can't argue with me. I mean, it's on LSU's website. Like, there's some guy who ended up getting mad at me for saying he's not, or like saying he's 200 pounds. Like, he's not 200 pounds. Listen, I'm perfectly happy if that's the case. I'm just reporting what LSU is saying. All right. I don't know why you'd underweight your quarterbacks. That just doesn't really make sense. Usually in college, they try to like boost their height a little bit, boost their weight a little bit, improves the way that their recruiting profile looks because as a roster, they end up looking more stacked. But Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, that's just a big issue for me. He doesn't have the most elite arm. He has some inconsistencies to his game as well. The high-level play is absolutely incredible, but I just personally don't see it with Garrett at the rate that others do. I do like him overall, but again, you have to look at these players through the lens of the consensus. And right now, the consensus is Garrett Nussmeier is like a top 3 player in the class. I'm not there yet. And I don't think that the receiving crew that he has this year is going to be very helpful at getting him to that spot, but we'll see about it. I'm just personally not the biggest guy on Garrett Nussmeier. At number 2, we got the New Orleans Saints going Drew Aller, quarterback out of Penn State. Another quarterback that I think it's tough. He's a touchy player, and pause. But I mean, he's somebody that I like. I like him. But at the same time, right now, out of the 3 positions I have fully graded, quarterback, corner, and wide receiver, again, solely in all 22, it's a standard I set for myself. That's why there's certain players that are not necessarily included because I'm not going to end up giving a grade to a player that I don't have tape on. Now, I don't think it would affect anybody in this range, but again, just a standard if you guys are new to the show. Like Drew Aller to me is probably going to be around the 50 range on my board. So I am lower than the consensus on Drew Aller. However, I do understand why people like him a lot. I have him as, I believe, my QB4/QB5. So I totally understand it. I love Drew because as a Steelers fan, he was the guy who I wanted to my Steelers. He's young. He gets better every year. I love players who get better every year. I just don't know if the Saints would be the right location for him. If Kellen Moore is there, I mean, you could try. I mean, he's had so many different styles of quarterbacks. I wouldn't say that's out of Kellen Moore's depth, but I mean, it's just like, oh, I don't know. And then obviously you got Daddy Nussmeier there too. So it's funny that Garrett is not on the board for them to take, to put under his father there in New Orleans. But I mean, again, you got to take a QB if you're at number 2 overall. It is what it is. I just personally don't believe in Drew Aller at that rate compared to maybe some other prospects in the class, which again, that's the beauty of this. We all watch the same tape, come away with different opinions. Like, you're going to disagree with things that I believe. I'm going to disagree with things that you believe. We're all going to disagree with things that everybody else believes. So that's why we kind of do this show, because I give you guys someone's opinion. I give you my opinion at the same time. It's kind of a great way to do that. And then you can put in your own in the comment section, and that helps out the algorithm. But at number 3, the Titans go TJ Parker. And I'm excited to dig into the edge class. I'm right now breaking down tight ends, which is going to be pretty damn quick. I don't know why tight ends are one of the easier positions to like just churn and burn through. So I don't know why that necessarily is, but at the same time, I'm not complaining. We might be able to get to edge pretty damn soon. And TJ Parker, like by watching a lot of other teams play Clemson's defense, I know this guy's going to be a really solid player. I don't know if I'm going to be obsessed with him the way that number 3 overall suggests, but I do like the idea of the Titans going after an edge rusher. At number 4, they got the Browns going Cade Klubnik, quarterback out of Clemson. Cade Klubnik's a great player in terms of high floor. I have him right there at QB4/QB5 with Drew Aller for completely different reasons. Cade Klubnik is just pretty much good at everything, and that's just a really solid place to be. That being said, I think that Shadur Sanders, outside of the athleticism aspect, is pretty much on par with Cade Klubnik. Maybe he has a little bit of a weaker arm as well. So physically gifted, Shadur's not there. But I do think in terms of the processing of the game, the placement of his passes, I don't know if you're getting a noticeable upgrade. And at number 4, that's why I'd be a little bit concerned. But I do understand if they do see the step up that Cade's taken every single year and see that as a notable jump over Shadur, I'm not going to blame them. At number 5, we got the Carolina Panthers going safety Caleb Downs out of The Ohio State University. You guys see on my board, currently he is my number 3 player, and he's barely my number 3 player. He almost is my number 2. It's a pretty damn big gap from 2 and 3 to number 4. So, like, huge gap right there. I am a huge fan nonetheless of Caleb Downs. He's just so damn solid, and if he just trusts himself a little bit more, I think he's going to be the best player in the class. And the problem is, I think he's still so young and he still has those moments where he freezes up. But those moments are pretty damn few and far between. And it's honestly a good thing saying, oh, wow, when you're actually like just playing the way that you normally do, you're probably the best player in the whole entire country. At number 6 overall, we have the New York Jets going Peter Woods, defensive interior out of Clemson. This guy pops off, man. I mean, he's a really good defensive interior, also plays some edge reps as well. It'd be intriguing to see how, the Jets would end up putting Peter Woods into that rotation because there's a lot of really good players on the defensive line. I would love to see Peter used as just like an actual chess piece. I don't think he'll end up being at number 6 range on my board, but again, my board will differ from every other person's on planet Earth. It happens. At number 7, we have my favorite player in the draft getting drafted here to the Las Vegas Raiders. We have LaNorris Sellers, quarterback out of South Carolina. This dude is just mind-boggling in terms of the talent, physical talent off the charts. You see it 6'3", 242. He has a solid arm, nothing insane. But I do think that his precision got better as the year went on. South Carolina is not necessarily a roster if you look, or not necessarily the offense. If you look at how they ended up constructing it, how they ended up executing, not something that's super conducive for a quarterback to be their best self. And I still thought LaNorris Sellers kind of flourished even in a poor environment for that. Because, I mean, hell, Nick Harbor was just used as a decoy half of the time, which sucks. So you didn't even get to see LaNorris Sellers utilize his best weapon at the rate that he should have. But LaNorris Sellers, I think, is going to be a superstar. I think the Vegas Raiders would be a great spot. Like Gino teaching LaNorris the finer details of the game, like creme de la creme type tier. Number 8, we have the Colts going Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. He is someone who I could totally see being a top 10 pick. Right now, he is at number 17. There is huge flashes in his game. I mean, stuff where it's a jaw dropping. So I love the fact that there's the chance of Fernando Mendoza really reaching that potential. And honestly, on the Colts, I don't mind it at all. It would be a good change of pace from what they've been trying to go and draft. At number 9, we have the Cleveland Browns again going tackle Caden Proctor. Proctor's crazy, man. He's 6'7". He is in that 360 to 380 range. It just depends on the sources you look at. It could be down to 340, but who cares? He's an absolute monster. And he's an athletic freak, too. My problem with Caden is he, outside of Caleb Downs, those are the only 2 players that I have officially fully graded outside of the positions that I have posted, minus the tight ends that I'm grading right now. And Caden scares the shit out of me. And I mean that in both the nicest and the most terrifying way possible. Like, I genuinely think this guy could be worse than Evan Neal. But at the same time, there is a chance as he continues to grow and develop that he is the best tackle to come out of Alabama in the past 5-10 years. So there's a raw potential with Caden to be a superstar. But I don't think people are acknowledging how low the floor is. And it terrifies me as someone who I loved Evan Neal. I mean, everybody did. Who the hell didn't? No one would have imagined that Evan Neal would be this bad. Even the people who didn't like him would probably say, like, yeah, I mean, probably be a bottom end starter. Like, we're talking about him having to move to guard type shit. It's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So Proctor scares the living hell out of me, but imagine him and DeJuan Jones. That would be, if both work out for the long haul, that'd be pretty damn terrifying. Number 10, you got the Cardinals going Spencer Fano, offensive lineman out of Utah. Offensive line is absolutely a position that the Cardinals should be looking at. I mean, right tackle, certainly in my opinion. I don't think Christian Jones, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name, tackle out of Texas from a couple years ago, late round pick. He's not the future at right tackle. I'm forgetting who else is currently into the mix as the future there in that spot, but Spencer Fano could absolutely be that. The problem is some people think he could end up being a guard, which is why I said offensive lineman. But I mean, if you look at the statistics, Spencer Fano is fantastic. I'm not going to disagree with this if it comes down to it. At number 11, the Los Angeles Rams go Sam Levitt, quarterback out of Arizona State. I think myself, as well as every other person on planet Earth, believes that Sam Levitt should be a Los Angeles Ram. Sam has great arm talent, still working as a processor big time. And I think that's the biggest thing for him, timing, being able to throw with precision, because he's like, he just likes to run around. He plays the game like it's a video game, and he has the athleticism and the arm talent to do it. But at the same time, the game is not a video game, and defensive coordinators know this. And that's why you don't like seeing a quarterback take a 15-yard drop. Like, that's just the problem. You can't do that. You screw your offensive line when you do that too. So Sam Levitt needs somebody who could be a real QB guru. I really like the fit. I would just say might be a little bit early. I understand if it does end up happening, though. At number 12, they got the Dallas Cowboys going after my number 2 player in the entire class currently, and that's a Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Just everything Jordan does is damn good. He's just not necessarily the most athletic guy in terms of burner speed, which I don't think you necessarily need. I really like the idea of George Pickens, who could stretch the field, CeeDee Lamb, who could do pretty much everything on planet Earth, and then Jordan Tyson, who is a little bit more that possession style receiver who gets short separation. I think that you could end up having an amazing, and I mean amazing, possibly best wide receiver core in the NFL if you can end up pairing up those three for the long haul. Again, assuming if you could bring George Pickens in for an extended contract. Without George, it's even more so valuable for you. But continuing, number 13, you got the New England Patriots going Anthony Hill Jr. People love Anthony Hill. I'm still not into the linebacker class yet. I watch a lot of tight ends versus linebackers and such and DBs. So Texas is one of those. If they're playing a game versus Texas, I always want to watch it. He's an intriguing player, but he's someone who has statistically incredible games and statistically very disappointing. And of course, he's super young. I get it. Texas trains some really solid linebackers. I'm excited to see him continue to grow and develop into the player that he should be. I don't know if the Patriots are the location that I would suggest a first-round linebacker, though. At number 14, you got the Seattle Seahawks going Francis Cece Mauigoa, tackle out of Miami. Right tackle experience. It just depends whether Abe Lucas is going to be reliably healthy. I know it's been a little bit over-exaggerated in terms of the amount of time that he's spent out. However, when money comes down to it, the best abilities, availability, they might see CC Mauigoa as somebody who should end up being their long-term option because, again, money talks. Tackles are over 20 mil. If you end up having the solution for far less, might be a better thing to do. At 15, you got the Miami Dolphins going Jermod McCoy. He ended up moving up noticeably. For those of y'all who watch my videos, like in that corner 17 territory, the more I watched him, I realized that I ended up like kind of not respecting his athleticism enough. I still think he's in that 4.6 to 4.5 range. I'm not going to like get off that territory, but I did worry about him being even above 4.6 into the 4.7 territory. And the more I watched him, the more I realized that it might have been some fatigue as the season went along that ended up skewing the way that I viewed his athleticism. And so by watching him versus, I believe like Georgia was the game where it like kind of like popped out to me. I was watching him versus London Humphrey. So I'm like, man, I didn't give this guy good enough respect. And so he's moved up to corner 9. Which, funnily enough, if you think about it, that's how close the class is. But yeah, he's my corner 9, and I think he's a very solid corner. The problem is he's still not a great athlete. He's a press corner. It makes sense to be like Jalen Ramsey-esque. But at the same time, I do worry about the fact that he also just had an ACL tear in January. There's a lot of stuff that makes me feel very uncomfortable with Jermod McCoy. We'll see if it comes to fruition, though. I really do hope that it does not. The Pittsburgh Steelers then get Jacoby Lane, wide receiver out of USC at 16. I'm going to be honest, you double 16, and that's not even the number wide receiver rank that Jacoby is. Yes, he is beyond wide receiver 32 for me. People who I continue talking to about Jacoby Lane say that he's the most mid-day 3 wide receiver prospect that you can kind of imagine. And I mean that with like, again, it's all love, of course. I mean, Jacoby Lane is still a fun player to watch. We're just talking about NFL translatability. This does jack shit for the Steelers. I mean, he's a guy who's not a great route runner. He's not a great athlete. He has a really nice release package, but congratulations. I mean, you can get past the first guy with 2 steps and then they catch up with you. And I mean, what, are you going to be a vertical threat? He's not that fast either. So I'm not a huge fan of this. Not a huge fan. I just don't think I personally think he's the worst wide receiver on USC. That's, well, Deuce Robinson was pretty damn bad. I had him below, but second worst. And I would not be a fan of it as a Steelers fan. Personally, I think there's a lot better receivers. And even though I'm not the hugest Carnell Tate fan on planet Earth, who wide receiver at Ohio State goes at number 17 to the Denver Broncos in this mock draft, I would still heavily prefer Carnell Tate. Carnell just does everything well. Which, funnily enough, was what I was kind of thinking with, I almost called him JSN again, Emeka Ibuka for the Denver Broncos, if that were an option, which it didn't end up being. So I actually really see the vision here, again, also from Ohio State too. Like, Carnell is just super well balanced. I just think that, it's a little bit overblown in terms of his actual talent. He's still a very good receiver. I'm not ready to crown him as like a high end 2, low end 1 at this moment, which is what a mid first kind of should be at wide receiver. At number 18, the Chicago Bears go Ruben Bain, 275 pounds, absolute beast. Was banged up last year, but we know that he's damn good. And even with being banged up, he still produced pretty damn well. So I'm really happy for Ruben Bain. I think he's going to do a great job, and I think the Bears could absolutely use that type of thunder to the Lightning that is Montez Sweat. So I'm a fan of that. I think that'd be a great move. I also think that he will be gone in the first 5 to 10 picks. At number 19, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Deontay Lawson, linebacker out of Alabama. They kind of missed out on Jahad Campbell this past year because of course, like shoulder injury. There's still some discrepancy as to whether he's going to be an edge rusher or not. You still ended up getting a great player there in Emeka Ibuka. I'm not going to trash it too much. I still think it's relatively underwhelming. Doesn't really help you out as much as maybe I'd want it to, but regardless, Deontay Lawson's a great player who took a big step up last year. I mean, he flashed in coverage as well. It is someone who is built to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I would be very surprised if the Buccaneers, if this is round 2, would pass on Deontay Lawson. Round 1, there's a lot of players and a lot of things that you might want to be able to grab at this point, but I understand it nonetheless. At 20, you got the Minnesota Vikings going Avion Terrell, who I think is a fantastic player. My number 10 player currently in the entire NFL draft. I mean, this dude is just feisty. He's just built pretty poorly around that 5'10", 180 mark, but doesn't play like it. And you kind of need to do that. That's exactly what he does. I think he'd be a great fit for the Vikings as well. If you do want to basically get a much better version of who is on your team right now in Rodgers, like that is literally what Terrell is. So I'm excited to see if Avion ends up being in this range. I'd really hope that probably the Steelers would have taken him instead, but we did not get blessed with that. At 21, we got the Houston Texans going Charles. I think it's Jaguza, but man, you guys ended up, it might be Jagasaw. Jagasaw? They might be Jagasaw. You guys ended up saying it, so I really appreciate that. Somebody with very limited reps. I've seen this now for a couple times now in these mocks, so I support Notre Dame. I think he's playing at guard this year, but I mean, I'm just excited to see if this guy can really step it up. I love Notre Dame offensive linemen. I'm a sucker for them, so I mean, you can sign me up whenever that is the case. Granted, the Houston Texans have kind of set themselves up for a lot of success with how they ended up addressing through free agency and the draft the offensive line. At number 22, you got the Chargers going Eli Stowers. He's 235. That's the biggest problem. Eli, I will spoil it. He is going to be in that tight end 3 tier for me. I don't think he's a starting quality tight end. I think he's pretty much on the same tier as Gadsden, but Gadsden's for a completely different reason than Stowers. I mean, Stowers is he's explosive, fun after the catch, can be a vertical threat. I mean, I'll be releasing a tight end video to be able to break it down a little bit more for y'all, but regardless, he's also kind of old. I mean, he's just not the youngest guy on planet Earth. And then you have this really, really weird frame. I just wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of him this early, but I do understand it. I like the fit. If this is the 3rd round, I would say by all means. At 23, we got the Green Bay Packers going Keldrick Falk. I know that he was listed 288, but now a lot of sources are talking about him at 270. So I'm super excited for that. Again, I haven't dove. I haven't dived into the edge rushing class yet, which is where I like to end up making sure that all the stats are the current up-to-date form. But seeing all these sources drop from 288 to 270 is amazing because 288 was just such a weird build for Keldrick Falk, and I'm excited to see him kind of choose the edge rushing pattern over being this weird tweener. So good for him. I mean, for the Packers, they like guys who are a little bit athletically freaky, and this would be on brand for them. So I could see this actually happening. At 24, we got the Los Angeles Rams going A.J. Harris, cornerback out of Penn State. Really solid corner overall. I mean, I don't have any issues with A.J. Harris. He is going to be, where is he currently on my board? Again, take this with the fact that it's like through three positions, but maybe I'm just blind. There he is at number 37. And 37 is a good spot to be. I mean, I think he's a very good player. So, I mean, this is perfectly reasonable range if you see him taking a full tier jump. Number 25, we got the Washington Commanders taking Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. We're kind of surprised that they waited till the 7th round. Still got a really, really good value there in Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but getting Jeremiah Love here at 25 is a no-brainer. Continues to help out in every phase of the game because Jeremiah Love is a damn good running back. At number 26, we got the Cincinnati Bengals going Caleb Banks, defensive interior out of Florida. I don't know why people are so against Caleb Banks. I mean, I don't know why he's just consistently a late first for everyone. I mean, his wins are like as good as Mason Graham's was. Like, I don't understand why there's not more faith in Caleb. I know he's a little bit on the older side for somebody who is still breaking out, but it's just like, it's interesting. I mean, I was kind of lower on Caleb Banks as in like he's in that like early second territory for me in this past draft, but I mean, looking forward to the future. I mean, you see that development, you see that growth. He should be a mid to earlier first. So TBD on that. At 27, we have the San Francisco 49ers going Isaiah World, tackle out of Oregon, formerly Nevada. I really do like the fact that the last time Oregon went after an offensive tackle from another state, which I think was Rhode Island, ended up getting a Johnny Cornelius, who was a really good fit. Now, Johnny ended up being a 6th-round pick, but I still ended up really having a lot of love for him in terms of my faith in him at the next level. Isaiah World should be the exact same. The thing is, you're kind of not filling just one vacancy. There's 2 top-end NFL tackles that ended up dipping. So I'm excited to see how Oregon ends up making it work, but a lot of people have a lot of faith in Isaiah World. At number 28, we have the Detroit Lions going LT Overton, and I love this fit. He's big, he's athletic, and he's still growing and developing. First year at Alabama took a big step up since he was at Texas A&M, and I could see him doing that again. I don't really see him getting to this range, but if you're the Lions, pop the champagne bottle. At 29, we have the Buffalo Bills going Eric Singleton Jr., formerly out of Georgia Tech and now at Auburn. He is electric, man. I mean, he's super duper fun to watch. I believe he is my wide receiver 8. And I mean, where the hell did he go? He's at number 15 on my board. I mean, he's just so fun. Such a good player. And, you know, that's something that the Bills could absolutely use. I just don't know if you're going to have the amount of snaps / targets for Eric Singleton to make sense at 29. That's my only concern. We're at number 30. We have the Chiefs going to need Dennis Sutton, edge rusher out of Penn State. He's an athletic freak. He would probably be a 2nd-round pick in this past draft, maybe the 3rd. So this is certainly a range where he should go. Somebody got their feathers ruffled and said there's no way Denis ends up slipping this far. I heavily disagree. I just think that Denis could end up being in this range, and it's because he's still growing, still polishing. But if he ends up taking that final step without being an Abdul Carter's shadow, I think he could be a superstar. And at 31, we have Baltimore Ravens going Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. And I'm not the biggest Denzel Boston guy on planet Earth. I still have a lot of faith in him as a wide receiver. He's around wide receiver 20 for me. Granted, again, this is against every single archetype of wide receiver. He's like a top 5 wide receiver for the X build, right? So keeping that in mind, Denzel Boston's one of the few that I think are legit vertical threats at that X build. Now, I'd prefer Nick Harbor if I'm going to do somebody who I can just send deep who has a big, great frame. But I understand Denzel Boston. He kind of is just a worse version of Tetairoa McMillan, which at 31, not horrible value by any means. And last but not least, at number 32, we got the Philadelphia Eagles going Max Clare, tight end out of The Ohio State University. He is currently 236 pounds per Ohio State. I know that because I found it out today. But, I mean, just spoiler alert, everybody's going to have him as a top 2 tight end in the class, or maybe a top 3 if you talked about Stowers and such. But Max Clare's a very good tight end. And he's honestly an underrated blocker. But, I mean, the Eagles need to go after a tight end eventually. I know they ended up extending Goddard, but it's not necessarily the end-all, be-all for the future. It's kind of more of a patch job. So I absolutely think that this should be at least on their first 2 rounds radar. And Max Clare's a damn good tight end. I really just would hope that he's in that 245 range rather than dropping down to the 235 range. But that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and showing the love as you guys always do. Again, make sure to subscribe and join the show. Off season's really slow, but I'm trying my best to get you guys some good content without making it a little bit too wishy-washy. Thanks again for watching. See you later. Peace.